Hey friends, you ready to read some more? I love that dog. Okay, so yesterday when we met Jack's favorite poet, Mr. Walter Dean Myers. And we learned a little bit more about his dog. We know his name is Sky. We know he was a yellow dog. We know he slobbered. Um, and that he liked to play outside with Jack and his friends. We learned a little bit more about where Jack lives. He kind of lives in a town, a suburban town like we do. He described his neighborhood to us. It's a thin street, it's got houses. His house is a white house. And the kids play outside on the street, so that might sound familiar to you. Maybe you can envision that in your mind because it sounds like your street. He talks about them playing outside, kicking the ball, and Sky's out there with them. And you could tell, at least I can tell, that he really loved his dog Sky. But we know from earlier in the book he doesn't have Sky anymore. Kind of makes me feel sad and curious as to what happened to Sky. And Jack just recently wrote a poem that he gave to his teacher all about his dog, but he also wrote a secret poem that he has all taped up in an envelope, and he doesn't want the teacher to type it up because he is worried that he used too many of Mr. Walter Dean Myers' words, and he doesn't want to make Mr. Walter Dean Myers mad. So I'm very curious about this poem. I want to know what that poem says. And today his teacher responds to him, and she says that he could say that Mr. Walter Dean Myers inspires his poem. Okay? Inspires is a word we've heard before. Somebody who inspires us, helps us to think creatively or to do better or to try new things. Okay? It's somebody who gives us confidence to do something new or to do something better. So you might be inspired by somebody. It might be somebody in your family. It might be somebody famous. Any kind of person might inspire us, even an author. And in Jack's case, a poet has inspired him. So let's see how he does. April 4th. I was very glad to hear that Mr. Walter Dean Myers is not the sort of person who would get mad at a boy for using some of his words. And thank you for typing up my secret poem that uses so many of Mr. Walter Dean Myers' words. And I like what you put on the top. Inspired by Walter Dean Myers. That sounds good to my ears. Now nobody will think I just copied because I couldn't think of my own words. They will know that I was inspired by Mr. Walter Dean Myers. But don't put it on the board yet, okay? Is Mr. Walter Dean Myers a real person? And if he is, do you think he could ever come to our city, to our school, to our class? And if he did, we should hide my poem with his words. Hide it real good, just in case he would get mad about that. April 9th. Nope. No, 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 no. I can't do it. You should do it. You're a teacher. Do what? April 12th. I don't agree that Mr. Walter Dean Myers might like to hear from a boy who likes his poems. I think Mr. Walter Dean Myers would like to hear from a teacher who uses big words and knows how to spell and to type. So his teacher wants him to write to Mr. Walter Dean Myers. Jack does not agree. He says his teacher should do it. I don't know, if I was a poet or an author, I would like to hear from a kid who liked my work. Do you think his teacher is going to convince him to write to Mr. Walter Dean Myers himself? Let's find out. April 17th. Dear Mr. Walter Dean Myers, You probably don't want to hear from me because I'm only a boy and not a teacher, and I don't use big words, and you probably won't read this, or even if you do read it, you're probably way too busy to answer it, let alone do the thing I'm going to ask you, and I want you to know that's okay, because our teacher says that writers are very, 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 very busy trying to write their words. And the phone is ringing, and the fax is going, and the bills need paying, and sometimes they get sick. I hope you're not sick, Mr. Walter Dean Myers. Or their family gets sick, or their electricity goes off, or the car needs fixing, or they have to go to the grocery store, or do the laundry, or clean up messes. I don't know how you find the time to write your words if you have to do all that stuff. Maybe you should get a helper. So what I'm asking you is this. If you ever get time to leave your house, and if you ever feel like visiting a school where there might be some kids who like your poems, would you ever maybe think about maybe coming to our school, which is a clean place with mostly nice people in it, and I think our teacher, Miss Stretchberry, would even make brownies for you because sometimes she makes them for us. I hope I haven't too much stopped you from doing your writing of words and fixing your car and getting the groceries and all that stuff just to read this letter, which probably is taking you maybe 15 minutes, and in that time you could have maybe written a whole new poem, or at least the start of one, and so I am sorry for taking up your time, and I understand if you can't come to our clean school and read some of your poems to us, and let us see your face, which I bet is a friendly face. My name is Jack. Bye, Mr. Walter Dean Myers. If I was an author or a poet, I think I would love to get that letter from a kid. April 20th. Did you mail it? Did he answer yet? April 24th. Months? It might take months for Mr. Walter Dean Myers to answer my letter, if he answers it? I didn't know until you explained that the letter has to go to Mr. Walter Dean Myers' publisher company, and then somebody at the publisher company has to sort through all the mail, not just my letter, but hundreds and hundreds of letters to hundreds of authors, all of that big mess mail piled up, and someone sorting all that mail, and then the letters from Mr. Walter Dean Myers go to him, and maybe he's away, maybe he's on vacation, maybe he's sick, maybe he's hiding in a room writing poems, maybe he's babysitting his children or grandchildren, if he's married and stuff. Or maybe he has to go to the dentist, or get that car fixed, or maybe somebody died. I really, really hope someone did not die. So if you ask me, it could take him years to get around to answering that letter. So I guess we better just forget about it, not count on it. Get it out of our minds. Do something else. Forget it. Kind of has a negative attitude, huh? We gotta get Jack to be a bit more positive, a bit more hopeful. He really does want to hear from Mr. Walter Dean Myers, but he's being very doubtful right now. April 26th. Sometimes when you're trying not to think about something, it keeps popping back into your head. You can't help it. You think about it, and think about it, and think about it, until your brain feels like a squashed pea. Have you ever felt like that? Something keeps popping back into your head? I definitely have felt like my brain's been a squashed pea before. That's a great way to describe it. May 2nd. Yes, you can type up the thing about trying not to think about something, but you better leave my name off it because it was just words coming out of my head, and I wasn't paying too much attention to which words came out when. He's getting shy again. May 7th. Maybe you could show me how to use the computer and then I could type up my own words. May 8th. Ooh, the very next day. I didn't know about the spell checking thing inside a computer. It's like a miracle little brain in there, a little helper brain. But I am a slow typer person. Did you say there's a teaching typing thing in that computer too? Mullen, help me type better and faster. Tap, 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 tap. So my fingers can go as fast as my brain. May 14th. I typed this up myself. He typed up a poem, and it's called My Sky. We were outside in the street, me and some other kids, kicking the ball before dinner, and Sky was chasing, 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 with his feet going every which way, and his tail wag, wag, wagging, and his mouth slob, slob, slobbering, and he was all over the place, smiling and wagging and slobbering and making us laugh. And my dad came walking up the street. He was way down there near the end. I could see him after he got off the bus, and he was walking, and I saw him wave, and he called out, "Hey there, son!" And so I didn't see the car coming from the other way until someone else, one of the big kids, called out, "Car!" And I turned around and saw a blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road. And I saw Sky going after the ball, wagging his tail. And I called him, "Sky! Sky!" And he turned his head. But it was too late, because the blue car splattered with mud, hit Sky, thud, 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 and kept on going in such a hurry, so fast. So many miles to go, they couldn't even stop. And Sky was just there in the road, lying on his side, with his legs bent funny, and his side heaving. And he looked up at me, and I said, "Sky! Sky! Sky!" And then my dad was there, and he lifted Sky out of the road and laid him on the grass. And Sky closed his eyes, and he never opened them again, ever. Wow. That is a beautiful poem that Jack wrote. Sad. It made me feel sad. And that's how you know it's good, even if it is sad. I think we'll stop here for today. And I hope you'll join me tomorrow so we could see if Mr. Walter Dean Myers responds to Jack. You see how Jack has grown as a poet and as a writer. And even if his poem's sad, it certainly was beautiful. Happy reading, friends.